Ethan Nwaneri, our talented Hayland graduate, now a first-year scholar at Arsenal Football Club, has signed his first professional contract at 17 years of age. Now, I don't want to get into rumours, but there's rumours Arsenal have broken their wage structure to give him his first pro deal, which is testament to his ability, folks. And you would imagine with him turning 17 years of age, if he continues this development within the next 18 months, within the next 18 months, when he turns 18, we'll sign him to a considerable improved deal, because as you lot know, at 17 years of age you can only sign a 3-year contract. So within the next 18 months we're going to have to negotiate anyways, but if he continues his development, you'd imagine he gets a 5-year deal. And I'm ecstatic. Comparison is the thief in life, if I'm completely honest with you, but it puts into perspective, this guy is rubbing shoulders with Arsenal's talented players at 17 years of age. What was you lot doing at 17? I was trying to get a car, I was trying to get my license, and was probably trying to get some gal. I don't think he's going to be in trouble with that. His Instagrams are probably popping off. Keep your head focused on football, the gal will follow. As you can see, not that I had the ability, but if I was a professional footballer, it'd probably be over before it started. But on the serious note, I'm ecstatic. I'm very ecstatic with him, man, to get his first pro deal, because it follows on what our club have been doing with a couple of players in tying down our talented boys for the future. Of course, it is very different, with the greatest of respect to Saliba, with Martinelli and them kind of young players. For me, when you see the Sakas, the Smith Rowes, the Nketiahs, the Nelsons, it hits different, people. It feels different. It is different to see a Haylender come from the academy. We all know that Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City all attempted to poach Ethan from Arsenal's clutches, and we faced a fight to get him to sign a pro deal, let alone a scholarship. So it's nice to see, or that's what the rumors are saying. Internally, clearly, he's best served at Arsenal, and he's an Arsenal fan, and we hope to God he progresses through the academy. I mean, he's our youngest Premier League debutant, people. When he made his debut last season against Brentford, a lot of you will remember he recently played and got some minutes against West Ham. Apparently, on the topic of that, shout out to Martin Odegaard, because it was like big bro, little brother on that pitch. Apparently, Odegaard has taken him under his wing. I love Ethan. I think he's a quality player, quality player. In the short and medium term, I see his youth being an advantage, because I actually think his acceleration into the first team will happen a lot sooner rather than people expect. But I see him as someone that in the short to medium term plays out wide, but I see his long-term future as a 10 or as an 8. He's a perfect player in the pockets, almost like a Smith Rowe and Odegaard. He's got a wonderful range of passing. He knows how to score goals. I don't know how you'd pull it into words, but he's got that clutch factor. Like, he stands up to be counted in decisive moments, and he makes decisive actions. He's got a great balance, great passing range, strong dribbler, lovely technically gifted footballer, can hit free kicks and do all of that sort of stuff. I see him as long-term being an 8 or a 10. I actually see his development similar to Phil Foden. I am not comparing him to Phil Foden or doing any of that, but Phil Foden with Manchester City took their time integrating him into the first team. And as you can see, Foden is a player that plays in the pockets. Long term, I believe Foden's a 10 or an 8, and he does play out wide. I see Ethan's trajectory kind of being like that. And even if it's not, I don't care. Whatever Mikel Arteta has planned and the coaching staff have planned for the short, medium, and long term, get it done, because this man has everything to be an Arsenal first teamer, in my opinion. Now, we've got to urge caution. Nobody loves Haylenders more than me. Nobody loves youth football more than me on this YouTube space. I always talk about Arsenal young players. There isn't many, or there wasn't many when I started. That's not shade. That's just a fact. I love all aspects of this football club. And again, I could get carried away with his ability. He's got the world at his feet. He's got it all. He's going to earn a lot of money. He's got every reason. But one thing I like about him is his mentality. He takes everything in his stride. He has a level head. When you look at actually his upbringing and his father and those kind of people next to him, they will ensure his head is kept on the ground and he keeps going in this path. So that's also a good point. And clearly the man's temperament is amazing. He doesn't strike me as someone that believes in his hype. If you believe in your own hype in this life, you will fall off. As I said, as much as I want to waffle about this player, we've got to remember he's 17 years of age, and I think a lot of people, they hype up these players, and them people that hype these players up to unrealistic expectations, they're the first to turn on them. There's, trajectory isn't linear. There's going to be many twists and turns and bumps and bruises along the way. We've got to remember he's 17. if he's going to have to learn to get to grips with, more than anything, the intensity of senior football, because the technical levels there, clearly, as he's getting older, he's starting to understand the tacticalness around it. But everything happens very fast. You listen to any interviews or speak to any footballer from the Championship to the Premier League or any sort of example, the jumping quality isn't that high beyond the obvious. It's the speed of which things are done. The best footballers are proactive rather than reactive. And that's something young players have to develop. And it's about obviously doing it on a consistent basis. And we need to remember he's 17. This is his first year training and playing on a regular basis. So we need to allow him to develop, not to mention he's clearly growing physically. We've seen that with Joe Willock and Emil Smith-Rowe. There are some injuries and things like that can happen along the way. He's growing as a man, let alone a footballer. So I urge caution. He's growing mentally, he's growing physically, he's growing in terms of what's ever demanded of him on a football pitch. But the signs are good, and we all love a Haylender. I'm not going to I'm urging caution and warning, as you would have seen on the screen. But there's no reason he can't follow, in particular, for me anyways, the Bukayo Sakas, the Jack Wilsheres. I know he's an adopted academy grad and he came through at La Masia, but the Cesc Fabregas is in following from youth football all the way to the first team. Whether he's able to do what Saka is currently doing for the first team and country, having a career like Cesc Fabregas, or doing what Jack Wilshere has done, remains to be seen. But the future is bright, the stars are aligning, and he's got a fantastic future. And as I said, I'm happy because you look at several contracts that have been tied down. Again, you look at a team like Man City with Gundogan running down his deal. That is something that happens in football. But to sit here and say Saka has signed a new deal, Saliba has signed a new deal, Ethan has signed a new deal, Martinelli has signed a new deal. We're not going into in the season where we're fighting for a Premier League with every game or result. Is a player leaving? Aren't they leaving? So it's lovely to see the club being proactive in that regards. It's lovely to see Ethan on the bench and making inroads into the first team. Of course, you would like to see that accelerated a bit more. I do think this time next year, he'll probably be in the first team, if I'm honest with you. To what capacity? I don't know. I'm not saying he's going to play on a regular basis. I'd love to see that, of course, but we have to urge caution and we have to let time take its course. I know there's excitement because he's a great footballer, but let the man develop. Just let him develop. We can't control the hype. We can't control the noise around him, and he's got all the ability, but allow Mikel Arteta, Mertesacker and Jack Wilshere, who all directly or indirectly work with Ethan, to develop. We've got a number of good footballers, man. I think I'm equally as excited for Miles Lewis-Skelly. I don't know if the club will hold on to Walters or Koza Dewberry come the end of the season with their contracts running out. And you look at someone like, there's a couple of younger players as well. We won't say their names because there's no need, but the future is bright, man. And he's in the right place. Look at the players. Again, I think he will initially get minutes out wide. Long term, he'll be a 10 or an 8, a player that plays in the pockets. But look at the people that you could learn from. There's so much you could learn from Mikel Arteta's professional career, let alone what he's doing as a manager. From a World Cup winner in Mertesacker, from Jack Wilshere, who, although he didn't hit all the heights projected, to progress from the first team to bossing Barcelona as a teenager, to being capped by the country and winning the FA Cups. Not to mention, you've got Jorginho that can teach you about being a midfielder. Very different sort of profile, but you can learn from Declan Rice, Thomas Partey, Martin Wondergaard, Odegaard, and he can also lean on his big brothers that have also progressed through Hayland, really, in Reece Nelson, Eddie Nketiah, Bukayo Saka, and the list goes on. I'm very happy, and this news has excited me more than you lot will ever know. So let's allow the man to develop. Let's keep letting him do his thing, but the future is bright, and we want to keep seeing these Haylanders come through the academy, and hopefully the pathway is open, because you'd imagine, depending on his development, the Reece Nelsons, the Smith Rowes, Jorginho, for example, they might not be here in 2-3 years. So pathways can open up. I do think he'll develop a lot sooner than people give him credit for. But as I said, I urge extreme caution. But I love the guy, man. Technically gifted, lovely mentality, twinkle toes, fleet of foot, has that, at least at academy level, has that ability to make the difference. There's a lot for him to learn. I do think he could be consistent over 90 minutes. Sometimes I think he plays with his head down a lot. I think he could could do things a lot quicker. He's not the finished article just yet. But that's expected. You don't expect a 17-year-old, no matter how good they are, to be the finished article. So he's in the right place, on the right path at this right potential time. And let's just see where he can go, people. But one thing's for sure, the future is bright for Ethan. You just hope to God that there's no injuries and any of that kind of stuff that can derail a young player's progress. The man's an elite footballer as an elite youngster, and you've even seen it for England at under 17s level, and you've also seen him in action during the international break, bagging for England's under 17s. So may the good work progress. And obviously, when you're seeing these young players, Yalmao, Maino, Endrick, all of these young teenagers getting first team football, I'm not comparing him to any of them, but it'd be nice to see his own development accelerated. And where I'm at with Mikel Arteta, take nothing away from Mikel Arteta, because he didn't give Smith Rowe, Reece Nelson, Bukayo Saka, Martinelli, or Saliba their debuts, but he took them all to greater and higher heights. But I would love for our manager to kind of bet on one, if that makes sense. Which one is going to be the one that you gave the debut, which was Ethan, and you developed him, kind of, if you get where I'm going with that. And I think Ethan could be that, but I really believe in Ethan. I believe in Miles. I believe in a lot of these Haylenders, and 9 times out of 10, it's the young player you're not talking about that progresses through the first team. And ultimately, this is what you want to see, people. You want to see people progress to the first team, to the Sakas, Smith Rowes, Nelsons, Jack Wilsheres, etc. You want to see people, if they can't make it in the first team, do what Balogun has done, or Iwobi, or Maitland-Niles, or Joe Willock, for whatever reason, playing at decent levels, ultimately living their dream. Because this is what a lot of us wanted to do. We all wanted to be footballers, and God has gifted this man a God-given talent. And I want him to develop all the way. I want him to make his mother, his father, and all them family members proud. And I want him to enjoy himself, because unfortunately, football does get more enjoyable. But as you get better in the expectations, it gets tougher and tougher and tougher. And you got to remember, he's already gone through that. Football is a numbers game. He's come from the academy. I don't know when he joined Arsenal, probably under 7s, under 8s. But the people he started with are not necessarily there as scholars or getting their pros. And even a lot of players that get their pros, they don't always progress to become professional footballers. So there must be a bit of survivor's guilt. I do think some footballers are made, some footballers are born. And I think God gave Ethan that God-given right to be a footballer. Take nothing away from his development and his own natural ability. But I think God has blessed him. And I hope his talent, God-given talent, better yet, Arsenal fans get to benefit. But that's all I've got to say. Long may it continue. And, again, I always say I want the impossible dream of seeing 11 starting players in the Premier League, from the goalie to the striker, all from Haylen. It's impossible, but it tells you how much I love this stuff. So we're rooting for Ethan and everyone else all the way. Keep doing what you're doing, Arsenal. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the rest of the other vids. God bless you all. Peace.